بسم الله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. اللهم لك الحمد في الأولى وفي الآخرة، لك الشكر ربنا على ما أعطيت، نشكرك سبحانك على ما رزقتنا ونسألك سبحانك أن تحفظ نعمتك علينا. اللهم ربنا يسر لنا أمورنا نحفظنا في الصحة والعافية، نسألك يا أفضل العفو والعافية المعافاة الدائمة في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وارزقنا فهما واجعلنا اللهم في بارك الصالحين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. The last class was on the reasons for at-takhalluf. I did mention that we exist for just one sole purpose, which is iqamatuddin. And it is very important for us to understand the concept of iqama as well as ad-din. These are two concepts that many of us may not be familiar with their meanings. When we say ad-din, is not just understood as religion. There are so many religions, but Al-Islam has its uniqueness. You can't compare it with any existing religions today. And iqama is basically about you remaining connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَأْتَصِمُ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ هُدِيَ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. Whoever attaches himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever remains strongly attached to Allah, فَقَدْ هُدِيَ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ, is on the right guidance. He is on guidance. He is on the right path. So how do you know that you are on the right path? Is when you remain strongly connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every situation. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with a lot, you remain strongly connected to Him, and you don't let what Allah has given you to distract you from what you exist for. And when Allah tests you, you have to remain strongly connected to Him. So this is very important, because Allah will never test you with any condition unjustly. Allah mentions that in the Quran. So He does not do injustice to anyone. Meaning, what you are tested with is for a reason. Either because of the life that you have led before. Probably you forgot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for quite some time. So He tests you with hardship. And the reason is to bring you back to the right path. Sometimes He tests you with hardship in order to reward you, to give you the highest reward, which you wouldn't get if you did not go through that condition. So why there is a takhalluf? And we are not talking about takhalluf economically. Why are we backward? Meaning, why are we backward in matters of religion? Why are we underperforming? Why are we not among the foremost as-sabiqun? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be among the foremost in every good. Fastabiqul khairat. He tells us to be among the foremost in doing good. And He says, Yusari'una fil khairat wa hum laha sabiqun. They spend their life doing good. Wa hum laha sabiqun. And they compete in that. Why is it that we are not giving enough sadaqah? And sadaqah is not just money. Why is it that when a person is dying, the only thing he wishes to be granted a chance to do is sadaqah. This is one thing we did explain before, but we still can add. When you donate in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's say you give 1 ringgit fi sabilillah as charity, the reward, of course, is 10 and beyond. Allah may multiply it by 10 or by any number beyond 10 until 700. But it could actually go beyond 700. How do you maximize the reward? This is the question. With the little you do, but you get more reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It all goes back to the niyyah. Innamal a'malu binniyat. If you give 1 ringgit just for yourself, for your own benefit, your own well-being in the it will be limited to you. But if you give it with the niyyah to benefit your entire family, the whole family, then you will receive a reward of that 1 ringgit you have given times the reward of every member of your family. Supposing you have got 1,000 members of your we are sorry for the disconnection. So, takdir. Allah does things based on knowledge and wisdom. You know, things happen, but what can we do? We just have to accept the takdir, while we also blame ourselves for our mistakes, not to, to justify our failures, referring to takdir, just as I did mention before. So we are trying to see how we can maximize the reward with the little that we have. So you have given Allah in one fi sabilillah for yourself, the reward is for yourself. But somebody else intended with this 1 ringgit a reward for himself as well as for his family members. He did not name them. And whoever is related to you is a family member. Zawil Arham. Nobody knows how many people will belong to that particular pyramid. 1 billion people. It could be 1 million people related to you, your children, their children, and so on. Wamanazal. This is the concept we use. Wamanazal. In fiqh or in Sharia, we say wamanazal downwards. Whoever is connected to you downwards, we say wamanazala. Wama'ala. Whoever is connected to you upwards. Wama'ala. So here we are looking not wama'ala, whoever is connected to you upwards. We are looking at those who are connected to you downwards. Wama'anaza. Your children, maybe you have 1, maybe you have 10, and their children and their zurriya, until when Allah will establish Al-Qiyamah. You intended to benefit all those individuals. Your intention was for them to be saved from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the reward would be times the number of your zuriya, which probably would come to thousands, a million, or even more than that. But this will not reduce the reward given to you. Allah will give you full reward. So there is A and B. A gave this RM1 for himself. The niyyah is to save himself from fire. B gave this sadaqah based on the ayah in Surah At-Tahrim, Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara, which is about saving yourself and saving your family members. So the word here is multiplied by the number of your zuriya. You can imagine how much you get. This is one way to maximize the reward. So for everybody you do, include the others. Inclusivity. We are talking about inclusivity. So do not confine it to yourself. When you make a dua, praying for your well-being, pray for others as well. And the angels will say, Walaka misla. Walaka misla. And you have got the same, exactly the same, as you have prayed for others. So you don't lose anything. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. The Prophet said, none of you will ever be considered a believer until they love for others what they love for themselves. So whatever you love for yourself, love it for others. You come for these classes and you talk to other people to come and join. This is for their own benefit. And whoever joins, the reward will go to you as well. I did mention before, and this is very important also to highlight. I said that the concept al-Iman, and I'm not saying the Iman, because when we omit al-Lam, the meaning is lost. Al-Iman is a concept with unique meaning. Al-Islam, not Islam. Al-Jannah, not Jannah. Al-Muslim, not Muslim. The concept al-Iman, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat, I did mention this concept actually implies three things. So to claim that you are a mu'min, you must have these three things. If any one of them is missing, you are not a mu'min. The first one is knowledge. So before you declare your shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, you testify based on knowledge, not on ignorance. If you say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah without knowing the one you believe in, your shahada is not considered. You find somebody on the street and you say to him, say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, and he says, without knowing who Allah is, his shahada is not considered. You have to introduce Allah to him. He has to know him before the statement. Before the statement is knowledge. Knowledge precedes the statement, which is ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, and all other statements. And it precedes the amal, whatever actions you perform with your heart, with your tongue, and with your limbs. Knowledge precedes all those. So you have to seek knowledge. Then you perform those actions. So Iman implies knowledge. And it is on the basis of knowledge that you perform all the amal salih, knowing why you should perform them, and who to please when you perform them, who to please, and for what purpose. There are those who say we should not intend the reward when we perform Amal Salih. That is wrong. Man swama Ramadana imana wa ihtisaba. So meaning that if you don't intend the reward, you have no reward. If you fast without intending the reward from Allah, you have no reward. So you have to do it intending the reward to be appreciated. That is part of niyyah. And the next, which you must have to have iman, is amal salih. So if you don't have amal salih, you have no iman. It's not just the knowledge. There are many people who have been taught about Allah wa ta'ala, but they have not believed in Him. There are those who believe in Allah, but they have not performed the amal salih. So without amal salih, there is no iman. It is not just to declare your belief without amal salih. Unless you die after the shahada immediately, before you have the opportunity to perform the amal salih. But in fact, shahada itself is amal salih because it is an act of the tongue as well as of the heart. So the next is to secure yourself. Is security. If you don't secure yourself, you are not a mu'min. Protecting yourself from all what destroy your aqidah and the amal salih. Protecting yourself from all what destroy, negate your aqidah and the amal salih, including ashirku billah. Because ashirku billah will negate your iman, which means your aqidah, the statement ash-shahada, and it will also negate all the amal salih you have achieved in your life. So you have to ensure your security. Protecting yourself also means keeping yourself away from what Allah has forbidden, because you are created weak. You have the nafsu, which is always inclined towards the evil doing. You don't say, for me, I don't have any inclination to the wrongdoing. For me, I never get angry. Or for me, I don't have any shahwat. There's no such a human being in this life. So there are conditions which will make you angry. Keep away from those conditions. If you have never been angry, so don't say, for me, I can never be angry. Allah may test you with a condition that will make you angry, because it is in human nature. Your duty is to manage it so that it does not lead you to the forbidden. So this is what makes you a mu'min. If any of these things is missing, you perform the amal salih, but you do not protect them. Even your wealth, you are required to protect it. If iqama is done and you happen to be busy taking care of your wealth outside the masjid, and you fear that if you enter the masjid for salah, it will be stolen, you are exempted from salah to jama'ah. You can pray where your business is. If that is the case, you still have to protect your wealth. So you have to protect your amal salih. It's not just to perform, but without taking care of what you have performed. Backbiting is one of the things that destroy the amal salih. Backbiting does not destroy either, but it destroys amal salih. And without amal salih, you have no jannah. Because we did say Jannah is for the amilin, fani'ima ajrul amilin. So all these things, when you talk about security, this is where at-taqwa is. The concept at-taqwa is right here, where you need to be fearful, fearing to lose what you have done. You don't want to lose any of your achievements. Nobody wants to lose the reward of their Hajj, especially in Malaysia, where it is not easy to go for Hajj. But even elsewhere, you need money. You need other preparations as well. It is not something you can do every year. You don't want to lose the reward of your fasting. If you are among those who fast, you don't want to lose the reward of your fasting. So all these things are actually to be taken into consideration, and we need to be very careful, especially when we have achieved something good. So protecting it is a great challenge. Performing the amal salih may be easier than protecting it. It is always easy to lose what you have achieved, and sometimes without even being aware that you have lost what you have achieved. So this is one thing that I need to remind myself and to remind everybody here, that please make sure that you don't lose what you achieve. At the end of the day, there are people who are not going to find any reward for what they have achieved in their life. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Isra, وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا أَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. You can look for that ayah in Surah Al-Isra. And when we talk about, of course, Amal Salih here, this is where the concept Al-Ihsan comes in. Al-Ihsan. What does it mean? To perfect your amal, to beautify your amal. Beautifying your amal. Whatever you do it in the best manner. Why? Because it is for Allah. What is for Allah has to be the best. If you're going to offer me fruits, and you're also going to offer fruits to young people and agong, they will not be of the same quality. The one you give to young people and agong will be of a higher quality because of his position. So what you give to Allah must be the best. You don't give him the least. The best time is the one you give to Allah. The best moments are the ones you spend with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, when you talk about quality time, it is always at the beginning. Al-baraka fil bukur. The beginning. You are among those who perform Salat Zuhur at 4 p.m. 4:30, because you know Azan for Asr is at 4:50. You are among those who delayed their amal. You are not among the foremost. And Allah talks about the foremost. You are not among them. So when you talk about Ihsan, it means to be among the foremost in doing good. You are not left behind. You are not left behind. You lead. You're among the first ones to do it, and in the best manner. The best things are for Allah, not for yourself. That is why you need to fight against your nafs, because what you desire may be displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at-taqwa is right here. Al-ihsan applies to the Amal Salih. This is the concept of Iman. And being a Muslim, we also talked about it. And Islam, being a Muslim, is about what? Being a Muslim is all about Al-Istislam. We need to talk about this concept. The concept of Al-Istislam. Al-Istislamu lillahi ta'ala. What does it mean? Surrendering yourself. You surrender to Allah. You submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically about ta'ah. The concept of ta'ah, obedience. You are obedient to Him. You submit yourself to Him because inna lillah. Inna lillah. This statement is not to all of us. Not only in regard, or let us not know this statement only when somebody dies. And when somebody says inna lillah, you get shocked because it means bad news. Inna lillah, it is just about knowing that you belong to Allah. You don't belong to any makhluk, creation of Allah. You belong to Al-Khaliq, not Al-Makhluk. This is what the concept of being a Muslim is all about. You belong to Al-Khaliq, the one who created. That is Allah, and not to Al-Makhluk, what is created, or Khalqullah, Allah's creation. You don't belong to Al-Makhluk. You do not belong to your wealth, Abdul Dinar, Abdul Dirham. You don't belong to your wealth. You don't belong to your nafsu. So your nafsu should not govern you. You belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are things that I wanted to begin with, and I'll be sharing once again because before this we got disconnected. Abdul Muttalib, that was the last statement, and it is also the beginning of this page 338. Why he did not declare his Iman. We know the reasons. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not guide him. Some people wonder why such a person was so close to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who loved the Prophet more than we love him, who defended the Prophet and we have never defended him, who never opposed the Prophet. Why Allah did not guide him to Al-Islam? He knew the Prophet was telling the truth. But what is it that prevented him from declaring his Shahada? Well, all what we can say is that it is Allah who guides. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. You, Muhammad, cannot guide anyone to Islam. It is Allah who guides whom He wills. Allah has guided you to Al-Islam. It is a great name you have to appreciate. And it is only appreciated with the Amal Salih. If you are not performing Amal Salih, the name of being a Muslim should be visible to the people as well as to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, do. فَسِيَرَ اللَّهُ أَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah will see what you do. The messenger of Allah will see what you do on the day of judgment. The believers will see what you do. So just do. Whatever opportunity that comes your way, don't lose it. There is no tomorrow. You may not be here. If you have the opportunity to do good today, you have to hasten to do it. There are people who say, well, I will study. I will start attending classes. Inshallah. I'm still busy, but inshallah. And they die before they get the opportunity. In fact, they had opportunity. It's not because the opportunity came late. They had opportunity, but they did not know why they exist. Dunya made them busy. This is one thing. Abdul Muttalib, they did not believe in Allah. Why? Out of fear. The reason is because out of fear. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and he does not use the taqwa because the two are not the same. Taqwa is to protect yourself with amal salih. How is the fear that prevents you from doing what Allah requires you to do. That is classified as khawf. You fear to lose. You fear the blame of the people. What would they say if I talk about it? If I mention this, I'll lose my friendship with so and so. But you know it's on the wrong. If I mention this, if I correct him, I'll lose my job. But you are required to correct him. However, you have to do it with hikmah, with wisdom. You still can do it, but you don't want to do it out of fear. So Abdul Muttalib did not declare his belief in Allah. But did he have iman inside his heart? Did he really believe in what was conveyed to him? What happens if you believe, but you don't utter the statement with your tongue, but that is in your heart? Is it considered? Because iman requires the involvement of three things. It requires the involvement of the heart, al-lisan, the tongue, and jawari. All the three must involve. But this person has belief, but has not uttered it. Is he a mu'min? Is he considered a mu'min?
No.
He's not a mu'min. But he may utter this and dies before his limbs engage in Amal Salih. Those are exception cases. He did not say it. That's why he's not among the believers. But he was trying to retain al-fakhru wa sharaf. Al-fakhru wa sharaf. I'll write this because I want to elaborate a bit. Al-fakhru and al-sharaf. Al-sharaf, which means honor. Al-fakhru means pride. The pride of the Quraysh. We are the Quraysh. We are the Quraysh. We can't be equated to the Bani al-Makhzum. What is the largest tribe in Arabia? Bani al-Makhzum is the largest tribe in Arabia today. Bani al-Makhzum. In those days, the largest tribe was Bani Hashim. So we, the Bani Hashim, we can't be equated to Bani al-Makhzum the arrangement in Saudi Arabia or in Arabia in those days was based on Banu. Banu means children of. So you are children of who? These are Banu Hashim, the descendants of Hashim. And these are Banu, whatever it is. So families. It was arranged according to families, not tribes. Families. In some countries, it is according to tribes. Some countries, it could be the same tribe, but arranged according to the families. You could be of the same origin, but you differ because of your parents. So each person has his own descendants. In some places, it is races. In Saudi Arabia, there was no issue of races at that time. But it was something to do with families. Tribalism in some countries. Tribalism, like in Africa, is tribalism, is not race. Some countries, it is race. Some other countries is about, in Mali, they call it suku. So, which particular section you belong to? So the pride of this particular family and the honor, we can't be equated with others. Islam came to bring people together. They are praying together, standing next to each other. We can't sit next to them. Huh? There are people who just cannot sit next to you because you are inferior to them. But even among our brothers and sisters are those who will not stand next to some individuals. If he sees him, he will wait for another one to come to stand next to him, then he will join the salah, even if it means to miss the rakah. There's some exceptional cases. This one is because they have not understood what it means to be a Muslim. So, Abu Talib, what prevented him from entering Islam is the al-faqhu and the asharaf of the Quraysh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Hujurat, ayah 13, that innama yakhsha Allah min ibadihi al-ulama. No, this is not the ayah. This inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum. The karam, which also means the sharaf, honor, sharaf, honor, is in at-taqwa. The ulama have said that this is in regard to the hereafter, not in the dunya. Honor, which is based on at-taqwa, is going to be in the hereafter. Because in this world, this is in al-akhirah, honor will be based on at-taqwa. How about in ad-dunya? Ad-dunya, honor is based on either al-mal, no money, wealth, or is based on what we have just mentioned. Kabila, could be your tribe, your race, could be due to any reason that we consider. You are honored because of that. Different places honor people based on different things. That is the honor in the dunya. People respect you when you have money. When you are not a beggar, that is the karam. And there are other things that people depend on in order to show respect to you. But in al-akhirah, honor will not be based on wealth, will not be based on the family from which you come. When I'm connected to the Prophet, I'm from the side of Hussein, whatever. No, honor will not be based on that. That because you are connected to the Prophet, you are a Sayyid, you are Sharif, Sharifa, honor will not be based on that. Because even Abdul Muttalib was related to the Prophet. Abu Jahl was related to the Prophet. And we know the children of the prophets who did not believe in them. They will not be among the what? Among the people of Jannah. So on that day, honor will be for the believers. And believers who had a taqwa. And we have already explained the meaning of taqwa. Without amal salih, there is no taqwa. Without being conscious of Allah, there is no taqwa. Be conscious of Allah in every situation. In every situation, be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why there is a takhalluf? The reason is because we have not had that kind of consciousness. Our day of meeting with Allah will come. So there's some disruption. Yeah, some disruption here. So well, sometimes you also lose the focus. So yeah, the day will come. You like it or not, the day will come to you. The day will come to you. The day you are going to meet Allah will not be like any day you have seen in your life. It will not be like any day you've seen in your life. What will matter on that day is what you have done. And I did mention that. Just to remind ourselves. It's always good to remind ourselves. Sometimes we forget. The day.
Can I ask a question? Should one fear death?
Yes.
Because I know people who are very scared of dying.
We have to live. We have to. Huh? We have to. Who wants to die? Who wants to die? Nobody wants to die. The prophet did not celebrate when he received the news that he was going to die. He would celebrate and say, "This is the day I've been waiting for." Meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he didn't celebrate it. Maybe somebody may say that Bilal celebrated it. Yes, he did. He did. But we also need to know that those people prepared. The prophet cried for us, leaving us. He used to guide us. He was crying for us, not for himself. Huh? So at that time, he was crying for us because we are going to neglect our duties. And what he reminded us of is known to all of us. As-salah وَمِمَّا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ is about as-salah. Huh? He reminded us of as-salah. Why as-salah? We know why as-salah. Have, the same question I've been hearing over the last how many years? It is the issue of qada. Qada. 10 years, 20 years. Subhanallah. Where have we been? 20 years. Qada. Yeah, qada. How do I manage my qada? No, that is not what we should ask about. Qada. How comes you have overslept all these years? We talked about yaqaza, waking up. You should wake up every day, not to be in a deep sleep, even when you are awake, that you don't know what you exist for. The Prophet reminded us of as-salah. So always remind yourself of as-salah. When it's time for salah, prioritize as-salah. Don't place the salah at the end. Towards the end, we have a meeting. Yeah, we shall perform at Salat Zuhr at 4 because of a meeting. No, we have to stop, pray, and continue. And so that's how it is. We prioritize as-salah. So the second is ma malakat aymanukum. Your wives is not about the number. You marry for the sake of marriage. It is about your responsibilities, your duties, which if you don't perform them, you might end up in hell. So the day you die, the angels will ask, Mother Fatima, what did he prepare for this day? What did he prepare for this life he has just started? The life which, is not known to all of us here, but you are going to know it. You will experience it when the grave will welcome you and squeeze you and you feel the pain of it. So what have you prepared for that moment? The angels will ask, oh, they don't know what you have done. ماذا قدم? People will not be concerned about that, as I did mention. Your families, nobody will be concerned about what you have prepared for that day. Their main concern would be, ماذا أخفر? What has he left? What has he left? They want to know how many houses you bought, how much money you have in the bank. Not to invest it in amal jariyah for you. What is going to continue benefiting you? No, that will not be their concern. Let us use this money for the construction of a masjid in his name. It will not be their concern. Maza akar, what has he left for us? So you exist for them. They expect you to leave something for them. We need to change this mentality. We should not hope that others are going to leave things for us. The Prophet did not leave even a single cent for Fatima, for his wife. Did not leave even a single cent. So don't depend on others. You are waiting for them to die to inherit what they have. Work for yourself. That itself is ibadah. The best you eat is what you earn by yourself. That is hadith. What you sweat for is not what is given to you. Zakah is good, but it is not recommended. It's not recommended that you rely on zakah and you feel comfortable receiving zakah. That it is an allocation for this person. Every month you go and take your zakah. We don't have that system in Islam. We don't have that system in Islam. That every month you go for zakah. If you have limbs, you can work. You get zakah and you start a job for yourself, not to depend on others. That is what Islam teaches. Islam teaches us to work, not to beg, depend on others. There are people who make this a habit. They like to beg. They love to borrow with the intention of not returning. They like to take advantage of others. And they are Muslims. These two things cannot coexist. Taking advantage of others and being a Muslim, they don't coexist. So this is about Abdul Muttalib, the statement that we last read from here. I want to move to point number 9. Point number 9. These are all related to why we are left behind. Is it? What was point number 8 about? Yeah, so this is number 9, At-Tasi. Mutaba'atu man yu'adihi minan nasi lirrasul wa sabquhu ila ad-dukhuli wa hadha al-qadaru man akhalqan kathira min ittiba'il huda yakunu lirrajuli aduwwun wa yubghidu makana wa la yuhibbu ardan yamshi 'alayha wa yaksud mukhalafatahu wa munaqadatahu fayarahu qad ittaba al-haqq فيحمله قصد مناقضته ومعاداته على معاداة الحق وأهله وإن كان لا عداوة بينه وبينهم. Sometimes what prevents us from doing good is because of having an enemy. Somebody you take to be your enemy. It is not good to have enemies. It's not good to have enemies. Considering people to be your enemies. You don't want to live where they live, to do what they do. Even when they are doing the right thing, you don't want to be part of it. Because then, whatever good they do, in your eyes, it is not good. They are doing it because they want to show off. That is what you'll say. He's showing off. He goes to masjid just to show off. He's spending just to show off. Whatever good they do, you perceive it negatively. Nobody praises their enemies. Even when they do good. In Islam, if your enemy is on the right, you have to accept that reality. If he does something good, you have to appreciate it. That is Islam. Not to that extent of seeing even the good they do as bad, to the extent of preventing you from doing it or even appreciating it. That is another reason why we may not do certain good deeds. And there's so much enmity. Enmity is still existing among us. I don't go to that organization. Why? Because there is somebody I dislike. There is somebody I dislike. And that is preventing you from acquiring knowledge, which is beneficial to you simply because in that organization is somebody you dislike. If you're going because of that person, then you are not doing it lillahi ta'ala. If you are doing it lillahi ta'ala, you will go. And if you know the reward of forgiving, you not keep enemies. If you know the reward of forgiving, you'll forgive. Because the reward for granting forgiveness is Jannah. Definitely it is Jannah based on authentic narrations. But how many people forgive? Huh? There are people we feel they have wronged us so much, and it is impossible for us to ever forgive them. I'll never forgive him. I've heard a lady saying, I'll never forgive my husband. I asked why you never forgive him. Because he promised me what he never fulfilled. I said, you have to forgive him because he also did good things for you. She cannot see the good things he did, but she's just focusing on what he couldn't do. Yes, he's a human being. They have limitations. Maybe he promised what he couldn't fulfill due to some, reasons. So when somebody promises you something, do not hope so much. When Allah promises you, then hope on it. Ar-raja, hope, is only when Allah promises. When a human being promises you, don't rely on that promises so much. He may die before he fulfills it. He may lack the means. Allah says, وَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى الْحَيِّ الَّذِي لَا يَمُوتُ. The one you should rely on is Allah because he never dies. The beauty about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gives on the basis of kun. So innama amruhu bayna kaf wa nun. The command of Allah is between kaf and nun, which is kun. Kaf and nun. B. It's just a B. And it is there. What is between kaf and nun? There is no distance between the two. Kaf and nun, no distance between the two. He doesn't have to wait for an hour to give you. He doesn't have to wait for a day or for a season to come to give you. And if Allah were creating based on what is material, if Allah's creation and command is based on what is material, then we would think of the exhaustion, that maybe one day things will be exhausted because he is creating out of something material which is there already, and it is reducing. The material things we have reduce, definitely. A time comes when they don't exist anymore. Even when we talk about minerals, we talk about whatever resources that we have. A time comes when they get exhausted. Even countries which have got gas, oil, there will be a limit one day that these things will be exhausted. But ma indallahi back. What is with Allah is to remain. So it is just a command to say be, and it is there for you. That's why you don't have to worry that Allah will give everything to others and you will not get anything. That is a raja. When he promises, he will fulfill, but not human beings. We have to forgive them for their failures. And كما جرى لليهود مع الأنصار فإنهم كانوا أعداءهم وكانوا يتعاهدونهم بخروج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأنهم يتبعونه ويقاتلونه معه. فلما بدرهم إليه الأنصار وأسلموا حملهم معاداتهم على البقاء على كفرهم ويهوديتهم. What is the point here? He's telling us about the Yahud with Ansar. They were very close. Before the Prophet migrated to Medina, the relationship between Yahud and Ansar in Medina was very, very good. They were on very good terms. But when the Ansar accepted Islam, believing in the message conveyed by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and supporting the Prophet, then they went against them. This is what we call turning friendship into enmity. So, because your friend is now a friend to your enemy, so you also hate him because of that. It doesn't mean that if there is somebody you dislike, that we also have to dislike him. He may have done something wrong to you, but not to others. So don't expect everybody to hate him because he did something wrong to you. Why should we hate him if he has not wronged us? So this is the case of Yahud. They hated the Ansar. Why? Because of, siding with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the reason why they hated him. So we need to actually avoid what these people did and stick to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to do, even if it is against your nafsu. That is what the Quran says. Do adil, even if it is against your nafsu. Even if it involves you, meaning that if you say the truth, your position will be affected. You have to say the truth. If you're the one who did it, you're the one who committed the wrongdoing, you have to admit. Don't be silent and accusing somebody else. But you know that is guilty. I mean, it's not guilty. So this is the point that I'm trying to convey. As-sababul ashir. This is number 10. Manu'ul ilfi wal ada al-mansha. Fa inna al-ada kad تقوي حتى تغلب حكم الطبيعة ولهذا قيل هي طبيعة الثانية فيربى الرجل على المقالة وإن شو عليها صغيرا فيتربى قلبه until the end حتى يتلبى لحمه وأزمه على الغذاء المعتاد ولا يأكل نفسه إلا عليها ثم يأتيه العلم وهلة واحدة يريد إزالتها وإخراجها من قلبه وأن يسكن مواضعها فيحصل عليه الانتقال ويصعب عليه الزوال. There are things that are hard to part with. You cannot part with those kind of things. What is it that is hard to part with? That, it has been there, for so long probably, but you cannot part with it. Every one of us has got something that you just cannot part with. If we are to ask one by one, I think each one of us will mention different things. So what is it that you cannot part with? and which is actually a barrier preventing you from achieving something good. If you're just to spend some time to ask, what is it that you think is a barrier between you and what Allah loves? That itself can become ilah. Is your ilah. Your attachment is to that. If you want to attach yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is, as we did mention before, if you want to, let me use the English word, not the Arabic word, we wrote those words, probably you remind us, attaching yourself and detaching yourself. In order to attach yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and whatever Allah does, you have to detach yourself from something that is preventing it. So the two must happen. It is not possible for any human being to attach himself to Allah without detaching himself from something. That's where the challenge is. That is where the challenge is. If this does not require detaching yourself, it would be easy. What is it? For example, you attach yourself to Allah, but at the same time, you continue to commit zina. Many people would accept Islam easily. You believe in Allah, but you continue to commit shirk. It would be very easy. Just like in the case of that youth who came to the Prophet ﷺ, to express his interest in Islam, but he was not ready to part with a zina. And when the Prophet said, you can be a Muslim, meaning you can continue and be a Muslim at the same time, he was happy, but the Prophet wanted to talk to him in a logical manner for him to understand. We know that story. So you just cannot continue being attached to something Allah dislikes, but at the same time you are attached to Allah. What are the words that we use here? Al-intisamu billahi ta'ala and al-infisal. Al-infisal. You have to detach yourself. Al-infisal. Connecting yourself to Allah, disconnecting yourself from other things. So the makruk, it doesn't mean that when you become a Muslim, you disconnect yourself from the friends, the people you have had. There are some people who have disconnected themselves from their friends because they are it is what you call al-intisam. Al-intisam. That is another concept. Last time we talked about the concept of al-intisam in Madari Yusalikin. It's about attaching yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you want to attach yourself, you have to detach yourself from certain things. Those things become the barrier. If you don't detach yourself, you cannot attach yourself to Allah. Just as I've said, there are people who believe that when you get so close to Allah, you have to cut off the good relationship you have with the people. You don't talk to them anymore. You start to look them down because they are not to your level. We have seen such individuals in our life. We have seen them. They start to look others down. That is dalal, misguidance. That is misguidance. So you detach yourself from what displeases Allah, and not detaching yourself from your fellow human beings, even your family members. How would you do dawah if you have detached yourself from the people? How are you going to do dawah to them? There are people who say you should live far away from the people then. Musla, that you isolate yourself. No, this is not what Islam teaches. You have to do dawah to those who are not guided yet. And don't forsake the society. But what Allah dislikes, you detach yourself from that. It could be the other. This is what He's telling us here. It is already ada. Detached from ada. We all know the meaning of ada. Something to which you are accustomed is already ada. So people who are, let's say, accustomed to smoking, when you tell them that smoking is haram, they'll try to justify it, even though they know that smoking is harmful. People who are accustomed to drinking will try to justify the act of drinking. So whoever has something wrong will try to justify it. Well, he's doing it because Allah has not guided him yet. This is the reason he will give. He's not guided yet. But in order to be guided, you have to take the initiative. But you're doing nothing. And you think that Allah will guide you without you doing anything. So what is the mani, the preventer, what prevents your attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, so this one is quite long, but I think we have got the point. Just a minute. Okay, so he's saying that an intikal, this is also very important for me to mention at the end of the page. An intikal, using this concept, an intikal, which is intikal is not hijrah. So the concept of hijrah is known to us, the hijrah from Makkah to Medina, from one place to another. So hijrah is basically about leaving one place to another place. But intiqal is to move from one situation, one condition to another condition. That is an intiqal. So we have two concepts, al-hijrah and al-intiqal. So the intiqal is from what is already a tabi'ah, what is already your ada, to something new. Is not your ada. You are not accustomed to it. So all of us are accustomed to certain things. When you want to transform yourself, you have to be ready to move from what you are accustomed to something that is very new. For example, you are accustomed to waking up at 6 o'clock for Salati Subuh. Subuh is 6 what? 20. Yeah, 6:20. So you wake up at 6 o'clock, let's say. You start getting ready. This is your ada. Now you want to change this ada. It's not hijrah. It's not hijrah that you are going to move from one place to another. You still have to stay in Malaysia. You don't have to go to Mecca because of whatever reason. It is to do al-intiqal, moving from a condition to which you are accustomed to something new. Now you start to wake up at 4 a.m. I was talking to one of my colleagues last week. He said to me, I wake up at 4 a.m. every single day. Every single day he wakes up at 4. I did not want to ask him, what do you do when you wake up? Because it is obvious. He's a Muslim. He is a Muslim. I know him as a good Muslim. So to ask him what he does is wrong. I don't think he wakes up to play games.
No.
Yeah. So waking up at 4 a.m. means is waking up to prepare for the day that we all know. What time do we wake up? It is harder for us to wake up at 6 o'clock, and we are not ready to change this order. Even when subuh is at 5:30, it is still harder that you wake up at 6 because you have already set the alarm at 6. You know, in Malaysia, subuh will never be at 6:30. So it is harder for you to wake up at 6:30 because no matter what, 6:30 will always be subuh. But sometimes subuh is at 5:40. So we need to change this adat. Adat is one, adat is many in Arabic. The things to which we are accustomed. Leaving your home to come to Al-Hunafa is a challenge. It could be other that, well, every Sunday wake up, we do this, we do that, we clean the house. I was talking to somebody asking why you don't come to Hunafa anymore. We start because the Sundays we clean the house. In Islam, we clean our houses every day. It's not only on Sunday. Huh? Not only on Sunday. You don't wait until it is too much for you to clean. If you clean on a daily basis, it will not take you even an hour to clean your house. So this is not a justification for not attending classes. And you know that you need the knowledge. Yet you are giving reasons that on Sunday you are cleaning house. How comes? Why don't you start cleaning your house at 5? By subuh, your house is ready. And you're praying at home. Allah loves clean places. You should pray in a clean place. So cleaning should begin before subuh, so that you'll be able to come. And classes start at 10 o'clock. Sometimes we start at 10:30 because I fear if I start at 10, maybe there are only 2 individuals. Because it's other people come at 10:30, I also come at 10:30. But when we can change this other intikal, that we are here before 10, so at 10 sharp we start. We can change it because there's nothing preventing it. So it is from a tabia to another tabia. So intikal from a tabia to another tabia. What does it mean? It means that this was a tabia for you. it was something that you are accustomed to at that time. Now your life has changed. You are now accustomed to something else. Yeah, human beings have that ability, which is to adaptation. Adaptation. So, adaptation, you can do that. Everybody has that ability. Allah has given you the ability. You can lead a new life. I think at one time we had a different life. Now we have a different life. Don't be in the same every day, but every day you should have intikal from the hala, a condition which is sayyi'ah, to a hala which is good. فصلوات الله وسلامه على أنبيائه ورسله خصوصا على خاتمهم وأفضلهم محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم كيف غيروا عوائد الأمم الباطلة ونقلوهم إلى الإيمان حتى استحدثوا به طبيعة ثانية خرجوا بها عن عاداتهم وطبيعتهم الفاسدة. The طبيعة which is فاسدة is old condition, bad condition, to a طبيعة which is good. Is asking, how did the messenger then transform the lives of the people, detaching them from the tabi'a fasida, those adat, which were not good, to something else. Look at the condition of Arabia before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The prophet transformed the society, and so are other prophets. How is it that it was possible for the Sahaba to move from, that is, al-intiqal, from the conditions they were accustomed to? And today we say it is not possible. People say the Jahiliyyah of Arabia will never return. Today we live in Jahiliyyah probably. But the Jahiliyyah of today is not the same as the Jahiliyyah of those days. The Jahiliyyah of those days was, we can say, darkness almost everywhere. Today, we have some light. We have light. Your Jahiliyyah is not based on kufr. You are a believer in Allah. So for you to do intikal is easier because you already have the iman in you. You believe that there is a day of meeting with Allah. You believe in Al-Qiyamah. You believe in all the fundamentals of iman. They not have that. They not have iman. So their Jahiliyyah was free from iman. So meaning that intikal in their case was even harder because the belief system was different. Everything was different. In your case, you have iman. All what you have to do is the intikal from any condition that is not right to what is right. That is much easier. So what is the reason for your takhalluf? For not being able to do so? It can't be justified in any way. How can you justify that? We cannot justify. Somebody may say, well, it is hard for me to change. Why is it hard for you to change? Because you don't have the resolution. You've not resolved to change. You are the one who governs your body. If you lock this door today, I don't think your body will pass through the door which is locked. It's mustahil. And people talk about the heart. Of course, the mind. Talk about the heart and the brain. Nowadays, what is the interrelationship between the two? The Quran has already mentioned that 1,400 years currently, the scientists have managed to arrive at a belief that there is an interconnection between the heart and the brain. The two communicate two different things to us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَعْلَمْ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ لَهُ نَفْسَهُ وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Your heart communicates messages to you. The brain here is your resolution. What you resolve to do. What you resolve to do. What you decide to do. It is the brain which decides, not the heart. The heart communicates messages that may be opposed to the brain. The brain has the power to control the heart. It has the power to control the heart. But when the heart controls the brain, something is wrong. The heart is controlling the brain. This is what is happening to us. So meaning that the intellect is controlled by the heart. The messages from your heart. Khushu in as-salah requires the heart and the brain to be connected. They are on the same thing. So you are the one who decides to detach yourself from the focus in your salah. You are the one. If you say, I'll focus on the salah from beginning to the end, you can do it. You can do it. It is all about you being conscious that you are praying and focus your mind on that, because the heart will communicate a message to the brain and the brain will take it or reject it. So the heart is telling you about something and then the brain accepts it and you start to focus on that. But you have the ability to reject what comes from your heart. The brain, the intellect, has to dominate. So the nafsu is all what is below the brain. Messages that come to us. We can reject them or we can accept them. We can decide to stay in the past, but we can also decide to stay at the present. It's all up to us. So the point here is, if you fail, you don't have to blame others. You are the one to decide. If you want to read 10 pages from the Quran, what do you think will prevent you from reading 10 pages from the Quran? Is yourself. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, blame no one by yourself. Is yourself. Because I can't prevent you from reading 10 pages from the Quran. If I call you out, you can always refuse to respond. I have received the 2 calls. If I wanted, I would talk to the person and say, I'm busy. Can you call me later? The person would talk longer. But then, Ustaz, but then, it wouldn't be seconds. It wouldn't be seconds. So I decided to let the person listen to what I'm teaching. But the person could not listen. Maybe listen for just a few seconds. If this person found this interesting, what is it that prevented this person from listening to what I feel is beneficial to me who is delivering it? It's because we have different interests. So your failure is not because of Allah. It's because of you. Because Allah has given you the ability. You have the intellect. The prophets were able to transform societies because people were ready. People were ready. And probably they were waiting for this kind of an intikal. They were waiting for that. Why is it that the first ones to believe in Muhammad were the poor, the slaves and women? All of us know why. Why the slaves and women? Because they're waiting for what? Liberation. Do you think you need to be liberated today, our sisters? Because no men in this place. And people are telling us that most women would be in hell. I don't think this may be the case with Malaysia. I don't think it is the case with Malaysia. Because in Malaysia, the Majlis al-Ilm are mostly dominated by women. Classrooms are women. We are the men. If you are talking about Jannah, and we say Jannah is in attending Majlis al-Ilm, who are the people within Majlis al-Ilm? Only Dr. Zul is here. Only Dr. Zul is here. Jannah? I don't know in Zoom how many men are there. Of course, our Hajj Abdul Malik is there. Some others are there. But our brother Hajj is there. But most of, the people we see are women. They are coming here for Jannah, not for something else. So, do women need to be liberated today? Do they need? They don't need that. Do we have slaves today? We don't have slaves. In those days, women were treated unjustly. The system was not favoring women, was not favoring slaves. When Islam came, they welcomed Islam. They welcomed Islam. Today we need, exactly. So this is what we are talking about. وَلَا يَعْلَمْ مَشَقَّةُ هَذَا عَلَى النُّفُوسِ إِلَّا مَنْ زَوَلَ نَقْلَ رَجُلٍ وَاحِدٍ عَنْ دِينِهِ. Nobody knows how hard it is, except the one who has tried to detach somebody from his deen. So what is deen? Deen is whatever you are accustomed to. Whatever you are accustomed to is your deen. Al-maru ala dini qalili. What you are accustomed to is your deen. So we cannot translate it as religion. Whatever you are accustomed to is your religion. If you're accustomed to something bad, that is your deen. Yeah, that's your deen. So the adat, all these things are part of deen. It could be a culture to which you are accustomed to. That is your deen. Whatever you are accustomed to, it could be the wrong act. That is your deen. So I think it's high time that we said to certain things, lakum dinukum waliya din. If others are not ready to stop those wrong practices, your friends, you can always say lakum dinukum waliyadin. It is not about you moving away physically from them, but it's about you doing an intikal, which is to transform yourself and you leave the wrong practices while you continue a good relationship with the people, talking to them and guiding them on the basis of love. So this is what we are talking about. It's not the hijrah that I no longer speak to this person. Why? Because I became a better Muslim. Being a good Muslim does not prevent you from talking to people. That is not intiqal. Hijrah ended, which was to move from one place to another. Based on authentic hadith, hijrah ended. What you have to do is intiqal from one condition to another. It is shaqun ala nafs. Shaqun ala nafs. Shaqun. It is hard. Ala nafs. It is hard. There's nothing that Allah commanded which is so easy. No. If things are so easy, then the reward is not justified. The reward is not justified. Jannah is the reward. So, to get that reward, you have to struggle. You have to struggle very hard. Why do you think Allah brought you into life? You are either here as a fitna to others or otherwise. Your presence in the dunya is you are a fitna to some individuals. And we all know the meaning of fitna. You are a test to others. You could be a test to your family. You could be a test to your husband. Rajulun Swadi. Somebody who's good, Allah may give him a wife who is a test to him. And the opposite is true. This, the wife of so and so, is a fitna to him. The husband is a fitna to the wife as well. So everybody is existing as a fitna to someone else. But do not make your presence a great fitna to your neighbors, to your friends, to your family, that you're a great fitna to them. And you're praying that the fitna ends. Huh? Yes, you'll be a fitna to those who do not want to lead a way that you lead. You may be on the right, but if you fitna to them. So every one of us came into life for a reason. There's nobody who does not exist for a reason. Even a kafir exists for a reason. Your enemy is here as a fitna to you. Allah is testing your patience. Allah is testing your patience. You are required to control your anger because of your enemy. If not because of your enemy, it would be easy to everybody to say, well, I can manage my anger because you have no enemies. Well, for me, I don't commit zina. Why? Because, well, in our society, it is not possible. Then that is not a pride. The pride on the day of judgment, as we have said, is going to be in taqwa. Taqwa means that you prevented yourself from doing it despite having the means. That is what taqwa is all about. Despite having the means, you prevented yourself from doing it. It's not about not being able to do it because you don't have the means. You have no means. If you had means, you would do it. I don't drink alcohol. Why? Because they don't sell it in my country. That is not a pride. What would happen if they sold it? Huh? It has to be there as a fitna for you to not drink it. then Allah appreciates you. But it does not exist. Allah is rewarding you for not drinking it, for not doing it. No, there's no reward. If you're not doing it because there are no means, then there is no reward and appreciation. The reward is there when you have the means, but you're not doing it. That is where the reward is. So be careful when you still have the means. Huh? But have the means. You have the means to pay zakah. You have the means to pay charity, but you're not paying it. When you can pay it, when you have the means, and you could also use that money for other things, then you appreciate it. So this is one point that I wanted to mention. So there is always mashaqqa. Mashaqqa is there. Hardship. Mashaqqa. Hard. It is hard for a person. Mashaqqa is hardship. Ibn al-Jawzi says, Ibn al-Jawzi, we mentioned that name before so many times. Ibn al-Jawzi, in his nasiha, which he gave to his son, he said, mashaqqa, all the mashaqqa of whatever has been commanded by Allah will end. They are not there to last forever. You have to know that. This is one thing you have to remind yourself. You'll not be waking up for subuh, all the time. After your death, you'll not wake up for subuh. You'll not wake up for subuh. They'll bring your body into masjid for Salatu Janaza, probably at Zuhur. You will not be among the Muswalin. You are not going to pray. They will not put you in the swaf. Your time is over. Your time is over. You know that people are praying, but yours is over. So if you're complaining about the mashaqqa of waking up very early in the morning, of coming to Hunafa to listen to classes, it will end. Definitely it will end. So mashaqqa to dunya will end. But what will remain? Ibn Jawzi says, وَيَبُقَى ثَوَابُ. The sawab will remain. The reward will remain. But all the lazat dunya, the pleasures of the dunya, they will end. You are not going to enjoy the pleasures of this life. Everything is temporary. The time will come when you will not have the means to enjoy even what is still there. Yeah? There are people who are bedridden, and the lazat are available. Even when you present them to them, they cannot enjoy them anymore because the means have been taken away. So the lazat dunya will end. وَيَبُقَى إِقَابُهَا. But the punishment will last. You have to remind yourself of that reality. It's a reality. Whether you believe in it or not, it's a reality. So Al-Huda tam yujibu al-ihtida. This is important. It's a very important statement to end the first paragraph, and probably we are going to end with this statement. Al-Huda, and we all know the meaning of Huda. What does it mean? Al-Huda التام يوجب necessitates. Al-Huda التام complete guidance يوجب necessitates al-ihtida. Our challenge is right here. Al-ihtida. Following. Complete guidance requires al-ihtida, compliance. We don't comply. Complete guidance is not achieved without al-ihtida. Following, doing what you are commanded to do. I was talking to somebody yesterday who said, my husband is zalim. He's doing zulm to me. What kind of zulm is he doing to you? She said to me, he is now focusing on the second wife. She's the third. He's focusing on the second wife. The first wife, they are together, but not together as such. Then I said, well, I understand this kind of zulm you're talking about. How about you? Are you doing any zulm to him? No. Then that person said to me, if you're Muslim, you have to follow everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands you to do. Otherwise, you're not a Muslim. Then I said, can you mention to me anyone who is following all what Allah commands in our time, who has entered Islam completely? Al-Huda, At-Tam, complete guidance, which requires al-ihtida, following strictly. There's no violation. Whatever you're commanded, you do. Whatever you are forbidden, you avoid. So she kept silent. I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, all of you, Bani Adam, commit zulm. We violate. We are not on al-ihtida sometimes. But then, Allah forgives. When you admit that you're on the wrong, you seek forgiveness. He forgives. If not because of that, then we wouldn't see the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you fail, you have to seek forgiveness. You have to know that you have failed. Don't exonerate yourself and say for you, you are very good. Maybe other people are struggling with certain things. You're also struggling with something else. I said to this person, when you blame somebody and you are telling me about him doing A, B, C, D, whatever it is, you tell me the wrong he's doing, you are committing a wrongdoing already. You are backbiting him. Why don't you talk in his presence? You are backbiting him. And you're also involving me to commit a wrongdoing. I said, I will not talk about his wrongdoing, which I have not seen. Let us talk about ours. Why should we be concerned about the wrong committed by other people, but you forget yours? Huh? Yourself is not on Al-Huda At-Tam, but you don't have Ihtida. Al-Huda At-Tam is all about knowledge. You have sufficient knowledge. You know all what is right, what is wrong, and Al-Ihtida. is all about putting into action, applying what you know in your life. So, Al-Huda At-Tam is so important to all of us. Let us seek knowledge about our religion, not just about certain things. You only want to know about a particular topic which is concerning you. But you don't want to know about other topics, which could even be more fundamental. And when you focus on just one thing, then you miss the rest. So, know everything you are required to know and apply, follow in the footsteps of the Prophet, all his footsteps, not only some footsteps. You follow some, sunnah, some other sunnah you don't follow because they're not in your favor. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله كل خير.